We also encourage you to try to keep the building as clean as possible. There's trash cans all over the place, so try to keep it as clean as possible. And I think that is all. So with this, I'll leave you to Sneha Antani, which will be your first keynote speaker.
All the electricity we need. This means a better, more satisfying life for us all.
For over 100 years, GE has been a company powered by ideas.
Progress is our most important product. Now here's another General Electric first.
Our 300,000 employees create and design the technologies that promise a future without limits.
Another development from the GE laboratory.
Because at GE, we know there are two things that make a company great: ideas and the people who have them.
This is what we call automation.
With over a century of great ideas for our customers and the world, GE, we bring good things.
All right. I'm required to show that. So what I'll do is, thank you for coming. I represent GE at most of the big hackathons around the country. I was just recently at the Big Ten hackathons. This is Purdue, University of Michigan, University of Illinois, 20 or 30 of the top computer science universities. And I gave them a challenge. I got to judge them and score them, and I spent most of my time coding with them. So it's really fun to come out here. I really enjoy these types of events. So what I'll talk to you about in my 15 minutes is around how GE leads with technology. So one of the reasons why I like hackathons is in many ways, what you see at a hackathon, all of you break up into small teams. You all have very precise projects. No one's really working on the same thing, and you're all solving really interesting problems. And GE is very similar. It's a really big company. It's one name that you see, but really inside, there are hundreds of really small companies. So many people think of GE not as one big ship, but as lots of small speedboats. And so we have people working on next generation CAT scans in our healthcare division. How do we try to find ways to reduce the cost or reduce the amount of radiation so more people can use it? We have people working on engines and building the next stealth fighter engine. People working on analytics and software to be able to find ways to make oil pipelines more efficient. We really work on a lot of different things, and technology is a really important aspect of everything that we're doing. And I'm fairly new to GE. Actually, I joined about 2 years ago, and they purposely recruited me to bring even more technology to the company. So a little bit about me. I sit at the intersection of technology and business. So my job in my entire career has been identify that next really big idea, take it from idea and whiteboard through research, through development, through go-to-market, into the customer's hands, into $1 billion business. And while not done, keep doing that. I did that for 12 years at IBM. I spent the last 2 years at GE doing the same thing, and I get measured on the number of billion-dollar businesses that I build. But what's fun throughout that is that I'm very technical. So as I come up with those ideas, I'm filing patents, I'm working with the research team, I'm writing code, I'm taking it from idea through prototype through pilot. And I also spend my time with the business hat too. What does the business model look like? How do I go to market with this technology? How do I market it? How do I sell it? How do I compensate sales reps? The whole business dynamic. And it's effectively an intrapreneur or a mini CEO for all of these projects. And the other reality is what we do is very international. Very few new ideas are ideas that run only in Puerto Rico or only in the US or only in North America. Everything that we're doing is very global in nature. So how do I take these ideas and grow them at scale so I can run these technologies or run these businesses across the world? And that required that I travel quite significantly. So I've been to 40 plus countries. I lived in a bunch, we'll talk about that. But it's not all serious. So some fun facts about me. I got to live in a lot of really cool places, all for work, so I got to live there for free. Before I got married, they paid for my drinks. After I got married, they paid for my drinks. I got to live in Switzerland, Germany, Spain, France, China, Australia. It was a blast, right? And I got to do that because I was part of a global company working on really interesting global problems. And you learn a lot too. What I learned was that I can't put a German and an Italian on the same project, for example, because they're culturally very different. Italians want to just throw out a prototype really fast. And the expression is, if you want a German to build a door, he has to build the house first to see how it fits. They're very slow, very precise, but you don't see that until you actually experience that international dynamic. Other fun facts, in 2008, I burnt out and actually came here to Puerto Rico. I spent 3 months here. My boss gave me 3 months of vacation. So I spent a month on a sailboat in Fajardo. Now I go back and forth from Fajardo to Culebra, back every day, every other day. I did a month in Old San Juan and just had rum every night. That was fun. This is before I got married. And then I spent a month in Rico surfing, which is a lot of fun. Right? And this is kind of the benefit of realizing when you've had too much, you can take some time off, go off and enjoy. And actually, I wrote more patents and more papers and had more ideas in those 3 months than I did the entire year. Because sometimes you need a chance to take a break and really let everything you've learned click. I also was a bit adventurous, so I was so burnt out, I was crazy and doing all sorts of things in life. So I decided to jump out of a plane. So I was pretty scared at this point, but then I started having a little bit more fun as I got stable. The scariest part of jumping out of a plane isn't the leap. It's once the parachute opens, because then you realize there's only 2 straps holding you to the instructor. And if those straps break, he's not cutting and following you. He's safe, he's fine. So that's just the fun facts. So what I wanted to talk about was a couple of things. So one was, I was asked to talk about how did I become a CIO? And what is the journey that people take as they grow? Right? And you'll see a lot of hype, a lot of talk around becoming a CEO at a startup in Silicon Valley, and right, there's lots of opportunities to do this thing. And then there is, but there's a lot of hype, a lot of risk, and I kind of do that as well, but I run, where I've got the backing of big companies to fund things. So it's a little bit different, but very similar challenges. So what is it that I did? Well, I really focused on 3 things throughout my career. I focused on technical credibility, business credibility, and the ability to communicate initially. And at first, there was this whole idea of discovery. What is it that I wanted to do? And I loved technology. I was hacking robots, little toy robots, when I was 6. My dad would fly back from a business trip, buy me this Toby robot. He was an electrical engineer. And somewhere in there, he'd cut a resistor or pop out a capacitor. And then he'd say, hey, I got you the great toy, but it doesn't work. Here's a soldering iron and a screwdriver, go fix it. And I just loved it. And I loved that whole art of debugging problems, and it started very young. I was trying to do it. So my discovery was I realized I loved technology. I also realized that I loved not just the technical aspects of it, and I still code. I probably code more than most CIOs in the industry. I love the technical parts, but I also love the purpose. What am I doing and why am I doing it? Am I writing code for fun? Or am I trying to build a business or solve an interesting problem? What is the purpose for what I'm trying to do? Next was apprentice, and this is actually the phase that most people miss. I graduated college, I went to Purdue for a computer science degree, undergrad. After I graduated college, I joined IBM. And for the first 5 years of my career, I sat down, shut up, and listened. I surrounded myself with very brilliant mentors, and I didn't have the ego or arrogance to think I knew everything. They knew much more than I did. They had much more wisdom than I did. All I did was learn. I would actually sit outside of the aisles of my mentor's office just to hear him on the phone and take down notes of the things I didn't understand. And my boss would walk by and say, why are you on the floor? Don't tell him I'm sitting out here. I was a little bit embarrassed. But it's about apprenticeship, about learning and realizing that there are many people out there that are very wise. And I still do that to this day. I find people that are much wiser than I am. I'll sit down, I'll listen, and I'll try to pay as much attention and learn as much as I can from them. But that becomes really important. Now, once you've done enough of that, you need pressure. You need something to force you to start thinking outside the box, to almost think of it as the pressure that turns coal into diamonds, something to really get you to think differently and force all of the learnings and lessons that you thought of connect and actually start to make the whole world click. So what I used to do, I would find the most ridiculously high pressure opportunities. So for example, there was a bank in Germany once that their ATM machines weren't working during the 2006 Olympics, or World Cup in Germany. Nothing was working. And the CEO of that company emailed the CEO of IBM and said, hey, something wrong. We need you guys to come help and fix it. And somehow that made its way to my desk, and I was a nobody. I was a junior developer, 5 years out of school. I emailed right back to the CEO of the company and said, I can solve it. I can do it. It's in an area that I know. I'll go off and do it. So this guy comes back and says, no one has ever volunteered for this company because they're very tough. And two, no one has ever skipped this many levels of management to say they're going to go work. So now I'm on a plane. I'm reading every book I can to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Because if I screw up, I'm done. My career's over. I'm going to get fired. It's over. But I needed that high pressure situation to force me to think and force me to focus and force all of those connections that I learned from my operating system classes in college to my courses in grad school to sitting outside my mentor's door to really understand and realize that I knew what I was talking about. In the first 30 minutes when I was at the customer, I knew nothing. I was pale white, terrified. And then suddenly they said something about threading models on the mainframe, and it clicked. Then the next thing they said, click, and click, and click. And since that point on, I remember that moment in my life, everything has been crystal clear to me from a technical point of view. So you need to apprentice. You need to learn as much as you can. You need to be humble as you do that. But then you need to take risks and put yourself in high pressure situations to be able to get things to click. One of the reasons why I love hackathons is this is an artificially created high pressure situation. It's your competitive spirit, it's your passion that brings you here. And that's what forces you within a 24-hour period to focus and execute. Right? That's why I come out here. Reflect, this is the other part of it. I always look at where I'm not good, where I struggle, and I always look to improve it and put myself in situations where it's even more difficult. For example, I was very technical, but I was terrible at sales, and I couldn't understand why. So I used to, before I got married, it's a recurring theme. I would go out to a bar in Madrid and come up with the most ridiculous profession I could think of. I'm a chocolate taster. And my job that night was to convince someone that's what I did for a living. Because there's this whole art of communication, of pushing and pulling. How much do you say versus how much do you back off? And I realized because that was an area of weakness for me. And the only way I was going to get better at it was by putting myself in those scenarios and in those situations and forcing me to highlight what I was bad at. And it got much better at it. And then, and then finally, as you do this over and over and over again, you can come up with ideas faster than anyone else. You can execute those ideas faster than anyone else. You can improve yourself faster than anyone else because you've gone through that cycle over and over and over. So that's kind of what's really important to me from a career point of view. So for me as a leader now in this company, my leadership credentials, and I'm still learning. I mean, I joined GE not having a lot of managerial experience. I now manage 230 people, which is another interesting thing. And the only way I would have done that is if I threw myself in a situation that I wasn't comfortable in and take a chance and take a risk. So I'm always data-driven and I always listen. That's one of the most important things of a leader. A leader should, even if a leader knows the answer, if you come to me as my employee and say, hey, here's the solution, or here's an idea that I have, if I tell you what the answer is before you have a chance, you're not going to grow. You're not going to get that confidence. So I've got to listen, I've got to be data-driven, and I've got to be unemotional. The next part is actually a cultural shift that we're starting to see in the industry, which is you always voice what's right, not what's popular at the time. If you don't think going to use MongoDB is the right thing to do, even though everyone else around you says it's great, it's your duty to say so. Don't just go with the tide. Always voice what you think is right and never deter from that. I'm always under pressure to do what's politically popular. What does my boss want to do? What does my big boss want to do? And if I disagree, it's my job to respectfully say it to them. So be direct but respectful. And then as a leader, how do I trust and empower my people? Because I can't do everything. And I've got to be able to surround myself with people that I can trust to do their job. And I've got to give them the chance to do it. And then finally, this collection of culture of collectivism, meaning it's all about all of us doing well. It's not about me using you to get a promotion or me getting, if you make a mistake to beat you up. That doesn't do any good. Because we all take pride in our work. And we all want to do what's best. And if you make a mistake, you're going to be tougher on yourself than I am. And then finally, traits that I seek to develop in people. Technical depth and breadth. That next generation of leader has to be technical. The reason, or the biggest differentiator between me and all of my peers, is I can go as deep technically with any one of my employees or any topic, or at least hang toe-to-toe with them. on anything from operating systems to mainframe to code to whatever. So technical depth and breadth, and that's a differentiator because I can make a much better decision because I understand the technology. Business depth and breadth. It's all about domain. You can be a great hacker, but if you don't understand the business problem, you're just a coder. For you to make really big impacts on society or impacts in your space, you've got to take the time to learn the domain because that's where you can come up with even better, more interesting, more impactful ideas. Developing talent, this is something when you get to that leadership level is really important. For me, it's not about me and it's not about my career anymore. It's about all the people that look up to me and how do I take the time to grow them. And then finally, communication skills, that's really important. So that's kind of the background, and now what I'll tell you is, from a GE point of view, what's really interesting is what we're doing. So our strategy is really simple. This idea of commercial intensity, understanding the business, as I talked about, understanding what our customers want, being as close to the customer as possible, and really being commercially intensive, all about the business. Combined with this idea of market speed. When I see an opportunity, I can execute it faster than anyone else because I've got the right DevOps capabilities in place, I've got the right use of cloud if I want to go technical for a moment, I've got the right culture in place, I've got the right processes in place. It's all about moving at the speed of the business or moving at market speed. And what that brings is a level of purpose as well, or what it needs is a level of purpose. I don't want to solve problems for the sake of it. How do we solve very impactful problems? Never in my career did I see an engineer cry when describing their technology until I came to GE. So I'll give you an example. This engineer was speaking about how his kids were born prematurely. And he started to cry because the incubator that saved those kids' lives, his twins' lives, that kept them alive and nurtured them, was an incubator built by GE that he personally developed. That's about personal connection. That's about purpose. I had another guy, I heard this other person speak. He was an aircraft engine tester. His job was to take military engines and shoot bullet holes in it and make sure it still ran. His son was in Afghanistan, needed to be choppered out of there. The chopper that this guy tested came back to the base with his son, riddled in bullet holes, and he looked and said, you know, if I didn't test this thing the way I did, my kid would have died. That's a level of purpose. That's what you get, and that's what compels us to do something interesting and do something big. So commercial intensity, market speed, and a sense of purpose. And what that does, just so you have time, is that gives us the resources of GE, but the agility of a startup. And that's what's interesting and that's what's differentiating. There's a ton more I could talk about. I'm already over time here. We've got videos showing some cool stuff that I was going to show, Google Glass and augmented reality and whatever else. If you want to learn more about these things and see these videos, come by and talk to us. I hope this was interesting and valuable. I'm here. I'll be here with you. I'll probably find a project for myself to code alongside you. Come find me. Come find the GE team. And good luck.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna have Ivan Rios-Mena. He's the director for the Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust. So give him a warm welcome.
Well, thanks. Mr. Antani was talking about high pressure situations, and I think this is a high pressure situation, following up a great speech with a boring hello. So sorry for that. But basically, I just want to point out a couple of things. The trust, I don't know if some of you know what the trust is, but it would be a good idea for you to have an idea, and then I'll leave all the boring stuff for you to Google. Basically, the trust is an economic development project that aims to help people create information, create ideas, which then they can sell and create wealth. basically, so we want all of you to produce information here, sell products then and afterward, and become rich and make other people rich and create economic development and all that. So that's a very unjust and oversimplified view of what the trust is, but it's a good idea of what it aims to do, whether it's by creating laboratories or by providing spaces like this one and others to provide those resources for people to create information. So with that said, there's one very important thing that I want to point out about what's happening here right now, today. First of all, there's this cliche in Puerto Rico and all other countries about the famous knowledge economy, and that phrase has been, overused and oversaid a lot of times. But basically, it does have some truth to it, and the truth is that you right now here, this is the knowledge economy. So it's not an abstract concept. It could sound like that because it's a cliche, but this is the knowledge economy. We basically you're creating information, and you're creating information that can be commercialized or can be used for other things. So that's a very important for you to keep in mind. Also, I'm from Mayagüez. This is my hometown, so that adds to the high pressure situation with Mr. Antani, because there's a lot of people I know here, and that adds to the tense situation. But you're also decentralizing economic development. I've lived in San Juan for maybe 10, 12 years, and frankly, we get carried away. We think that that San Juan, the metro area, is Puerto Rico, and that's not the truth. I mean, I'm one of the only people for example, in the trust and the economic development department from Mayagüez, and I'm always saying, hey, I mean, do stuff over there. We have basically with the students we have in the University of Mayagüez, we can solve all this economic disaster we have, for a couple of years. So why? Because we have knowledge here, and we have the production of talent here. So we have been, that has been an error, and I hope that this indicates some kind of momentum in the area, and I know that momentum exists, and I've felt it in the last maybe couple of years organically. I'm not saying the government has done it, or I'm not saying the trust has done it, or I'm not saying Startups for Puerto Rico has done it, or one entity. It has been an organic development that is also very important. So with that said, one other event is happening. Well, right now there's a startup weekend over in the trust, so that's one thing. But in Mayagüez, talking about the decentralization of the economic development and the knowledge economy, from 25 to the 27th of April, there's gonna be a startup weekend in the BDTC in Mayagüez, right here. So I invite you to register. You'll be receiving the invitations, the registration forms, and that will be another way for the knowledge economy to happen, and for people to create information and sell that information. So that's the end of my boring hello. I'm not gonna keep you from doing what you came here to do, which is hack and produce neat stuff. So I hope you have a great time doing it, which is the important thing. Thank you.
My name is Cesar Cruz, one of the organizers. Just wanna go over a few things before we start. Be sure to follow us Twitter, Facebook, Hacker League event. I will be here are the links. For Facebook it's gonna be Facebook/Hack Puerto Rico. For Twitter it's gonna be @Hack Puerto Rico. And then our Hacker League is gonna be hackathons at HackPR Spring 2014. Be sure to register because we're gonna be making all our announcements through the Hacker League page. And everything's gonna be through the Hacker League page, basically. So I'm gonna quickly go. I want to thank our sponsors. I'm gonna mention them quickly. There we go. Yeah, I want to thank MongoDB, SendGrid, the university for letting us do this. Cars plus Facebook, Optimum, Accenture, Etsy. The Etsy guys are right there. GeoRiot, Mashery, Paulson's. You can find all of this in our page. So yeah, General Electric, Goldman Sachs, Google, Mesoria, the CIO office of Puerto Rico, Honeywell, Explorer Media, Puerto Rico Science, Technology and Research Fund, Trust, E3 Consulting, Cryptico, and the PRT IT cluster, and Medtronic. So yeah, I want to thank them. This event was not going to be possible without them. So yeah, quickly go over our agenda. Tabs. So yeah, everything about the agenda is going to be available at our page. We want to make notice that everything is going to be concurrent. So the hackathon goes on for 24 hours, but everything that happens here is going to happen also while the hackathon is going on. So we have our conferences. You can see the schedule online. If there's going to be any updates, we'll announce them, obviously, through our Hacker League. Quickly go over the rules. So yeah, the basic rules, like be respectful to other hackers, don't make so much noise. And important, everything that's developed towards a presentation, like if you want to compete for the prizes, has to be developed during the event. Okay, there's no, you can't bring any code. You can use any APIs you want, but you can't bring like halfway through code. So rules are basically online. We're gonna have 4 categories: best hardware, best web, best mobile, best overall hack. And there's gonna be a surprise category, will be announced tomorrow. The description for each of the categories can be found online. So yeah, and there's also going to be some API prizes handed out by API sponsors. They're going to be announced later on today, Hacker League again. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to leave you guys with Yamin. Are you ready? Okay, cool. He's going to be starting out our API demos. So give it up for Yamin.
Saludos, mi nombre es Jamil, yo estudié aquí conmigo y pues hace un tiempo atrás organizé el primero de estos, so estoy bien confiado de ver tanta fucking gente aquí y sí, está grabado y whatever, no importa. So, resulta que yo tengo que dar 2 demos. Yo trabajo por una compañía llamada SendGrid, pero también estoy representando unas amistades, so también voy a dar el demo de MongoDB. So, ¿cómo fue? So, lo que eso llega, MongoDB es una base de datos estilo NoSQL, so no tiene esquema, no es tabla, es un dump de JSON. Tú puedes tirar JSON en la base de datos y puedes playar ese JSON y retorna otro nuevo JSON. So, eso es tan sencillo como eso. Les voy a dar un pequeño ejemplo. Yo tengo la base de datos de todos ustedes, o sea, yo tengo el email de todos ustedes prácticamente toda su vida, porque yo tengo acceso a la base de datos de registraciones. So, qué sé yo, quiero ver cuánta gente aquí se registró y son mujeres.
Ahora vienen dos.
Ah, okay. So, voy a contar cuántas de las registraciones pues son féminas y pues hay 43 de las 200 y pico que había de registraciones. De las 242 hay 43. So, give it así de sencillo es, yo puedo dumpear data en forma de JSON, puedo extraer esa data, puedo, en vez de contarla, pues puedo enseñarla así, no quiero que le tumben los emails con el nombre y con esto y eso. Ahora les voy a hacer un pequeño demo de cómo usarlo en una aplicación. So, voy a escribir un poquito de Python aquí. PyMongo es un wrapper para interface con MongoDB. So, la base de datos que voy a conectar es HackPR 2014. Esta es mi máquina local. Y ese es el nombre del collection. El collection es el equivalente a lo que leía en una tabla. Y pues ahora, yo voy a buscar la base de datos y voy a imprimir todos los emails de ustedes aquí enfrente. Ahí están todos los emails de todas las personas que están registradas aquí, etcétera, etcétera. Así de sencillo fue usar MongoDB en una aplicación. Creo que tengo, I don't know, a few lines of code. Ahora les voy a hablar de SendGrid. Yo trabajo con una compañía que se llama SendGrid y lo que hacemos es hacerle súper fácil y súper sencillo a ustedes los developers enviar y recibir emails en sus aplicaciones. So, ya que yo tengo el email de todos ustedes, pues les voy a enviar un email a todos ustedes ahora. So, esto que estoy haciendo aquí es para que ustedes no me tumben mis credenciales y no los pongan aquí enfrente de todo el mundo. Yo los tengo guardados en mi computadora y este paquete me permite accesarlos, solamente para que no me tumben mis cuentas. Me podrían votar. Obligado. Ahora voy a crear un objeto que es tipo main y voy a setear el reply to. Les voy a explicar por qué estoy poniendo el reply to a esa dirección en un segundo. Y el subject también va a ser un poquito raro. Luego puedo decir un texto. HackPR y email personal. Perdón. So, ahora, sencillo, voy a añadirle la dirección de todos ustedes a ese mail object. So, hacker. Y hopefully no me tiras patas en ningún lado y esto va a funcionar y todos ustedes van a recibir un email ahora. ¿Cómo es? Awesome. Gracias. Ya se quedó. So, supone que ustedes hayan recibido un email ahora y yo también. So, ¿lo recibieron? Sí, díganme. ¿Sí? Okay, so, todo el mundo tiene un email de mí ahora, ¿no? So, vayan a ese email y respondan con lo que ustedes quieran, literalmente lo que usted le dé la gana. Pueden escribir cacerías porque no lo voy a mostrar. Contéstenle como ustedes quieran. Y pues, si no me tiras patas, todo va a estar cool. O sea, yo ustedes están contestando, yo estoy recibiendo los emails y ustedes están matándome por el chat aquí. So, y se va a morir en algún momento y cuando se muera va a aparecer otra vez. So, yay, so mataron a Charizard. So, cuando yo hice esto aquí, el reply to, yo seteé una dirección que yo tenga predeterminada para recibir emails. So, cuando ustedes contestaron, en verdad no me contestaron a mí, pero contestaron a esa dirección. Y pues todo email que va ahí, yo hago, qué sé yo, un poquito de magia y mato a mi Charizard. So, cuando ustedes quieran enviar y recibir emails sin su aplicación, pues yo soy su guy, I'm gonna be around y los ayudo y también los puedo en todo lo demás, no importa. Fuera de eso, pues inicialmente yo empecé hablando de MongoDB. MongoDB tiene un premio para el mejor uso de MongoDB. Es un Jambox, o no sé de Jambox, I don't know. So, free. Entonces, para los gamers por ahí, pues el mejor uso de SendGrid, yo voy a estar regalando esta cosita, que es un portable Super Nintendo. Y
bueno.
par de juegos al equipo
So much.
Para ganar el Jambox tienen que usar MongoDB. Para ganar el Super Nintendo Stuff, deberían ir, para empezar, ya que están preguntando, pues vayan a hack.sendgrid.com. Ya lo subí un desastre. Yo quería mostrarlo ahí de un segundo. Ya. Vayan a hack.sendgrid.com, se registran, vienen donde mí, yo les apruebo su cuenta y empiezan a montar el SendGrid. Ahora tienes que enviar o recibir emails, o los dos en tu aplicación, y pues puedes, maybe, ganar un Super Nintendo que yo te voy a regalar. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay?
Uno por cada equipo. Yami, es uno por persona.
gane lo del Sengrid, si son 4 participantes en el grupo o un participante, pues esa es la cantidad de Super Nintendo que se va a comprar para ese grupo.
Todo el mundo se lleva.
Todo el grupo que gane, todos los participantes se llevan un Super Nintendo. Ahora tenemos el debate de quick reminder, como que vamos a dar snacks durante todo el día. Other snacks durante todo el evento, va a tener una mesa por aquí, constantly refilling, como que, y los baños están como que al final del pasillo a la izquierda, está al otro lado. So, los dejo con esto.
Yo usualmente doy esta presentación en inglés, pero ya que tengo la oportunidad de hacerlo en mi alma mater, vamos a hacer español. Mi nombre es Héctor Ramos, yo trabajo para PARS, una compañía que forma parte de Facebook, y yo soy egresado del colegio hace ya casi 10 años. Gracias. Y nada, hoy quería hablarles rapidito del servicio que PARS les ofrece. El gol de nosotros es ayudarlos a ustedes a hacer aplicaciones móviles, porque hacer aplicaciones móviles es bien difícil. Yo recuerdo tomando clases con Manuel, clases de bases de datos, software engineering. Las primeras cosas que yo hice fue pues el backend. Era una página, un e-commerce app, básicamente. Y eso me ayudó. Luego yo trabajé en Evertech haciendo backends con mi banco. Y cuando empecé a hacer aplicaciones de iPhone, usé ese conocimiento para entonces hacer el backend que le da la data al teléfono. Y fue interesante, pero encontraba que siempre tenía que estar haciendo el mismo trabajo, cada vez, de nuevo. Aplicación nueva, tenía que montar la base de datos, montar el servidor. Básicamente esto es lo que tienes que hacer cada vez. Configurar la base de datos, el esquema, todo. Después que tienes la base de datos corriendo, tienes que setear el REST API. Básicamente tienes que abrir la interfaz con la cual el app tuyo se va a conectar con esta base de datos. Tienes que tener un servidor donde vas a correr la base de datos y el API. Una vez ya tienes todo seteado en el servidor, tienes que entonces trabajar con el lado del cliente. La aplicación tiene que tener networking implementado para poder hablar con estos servicios. Tienes que poder tener una lógica para almacenar esa data offline, cosa de que si el servidor no está disponible, estás guiando por un túnel o algo así, la aplicación funciona. Después que tienes todo eso ya implementado, ahora es que entonces te toca hacer el fun part, que es lo que nosotros queremos hacer aquí en Hackathon. Así que al principio creo que fue César, él dijo que las reglas de Hackathon no permiten traer código anterior, solamente lo que trabajen hoy es lo que se permite. Pues, empiecen con un backend que ya está listo. No tienen ya tienen la mitad del trabajo hecho. Así que ahora déjame entonces describirles un poquito por encima cómo es que esto funciona realmente y cómo lo pueden usar ahora este fin de semana en su proyecto. Todo esto lo va a hacer más fácil PARS. Y PARS básicamente tiene un SDK para cada plataforma. Estamos en todos lados, iPhone, Android, Windows Phones, OS X, todo. Creo que en esta presentación yo tengo un poquito de ejemplos de Objective-C para iPhone, pero funciona con el lenguaje nativo de cada plataforma. Lo pueden buscar y hablamos de eso en persona. PARS se divide en 3 categorías grandes: Core, Push y Analytics. Ahora solamente tengo tiempo para hablar rápido de Core, así que me voy a enfocar en eso. Core es la base de datos y todos los servicios alrededor de almacenar data en el servidor. Un ejemplo es, yo hice una aplicación para una conferencia que nosotros tuvimos, donde básicamente tenía las sesiones, speakers, los temas de cada sesión, etc. Eso es algo que normalmente tú almacenarías en una base de datos con 3 columnas: title, track y el tiempo de la sesión. Así que de la forma en que eso se hace en PARS, básicamente creas un nuevo objeto, hub, con el nombre de la clase, asignas las propiedades de ese objeto. Esto funciona similar a MongoDB, donde el esquema, actually, usamos MongoDB, lo que nos permite crear el esquema as you go. No tienes que definirlo antes. Pero una vez grabas el objeto, se hace log a ese tipo. Así que en este caso usamos strings, dates, y de la forma que esto se graba en la base de datos es con una línea, save un background, se hace asincrónicamente. Actually, esto no es Objective-C, esto es Java. Cambiamos el texto. Así que save background, no bloquea el UI. Esto se ocupa de hablar con los servidores, grabar data y está disponible. La data se refleja en el data browser, que es básicamente como un SQL browser para ver la data que se ha grabado. Puedes hacer un browsing de toda esta información. Y otra cosa que nos permite, obviamente puedes almacenar todo tipo de data. Otra cosa que Parse te brinda, que hace el desarrollo más rápido, es la parte social. Hay un tipo especial de usuario, de objeto, que es el usuario. Tiene username, password. Lo puedes asociar con Twitter o Facebook, cosa de que ya tenemos el access token, puedes usar los APIs con ellos y añadirle login, sign up a tu aplicación. Nosotros actually brindamos un UI que ya está construido, donde lo pones en tu aplicación móvil, enseña un login page y eso se encarga de track la sesión del usuario. Puedes usar modelos de seguridad con los objetos, cosa de que solamente el que creó cada objeto sea el que pueda accesar esa data. Así que ya todo eso está built-in en la plataforma. La otra parte de Parse Core es Cloud Code. Obviamente no todo lo vas a hacer en el lado del cliente. También hay funciones que vas a querer hacer en el servidor para hacer validación de data, proveer seguridad, preveyendo que los clientes hagan writes que no son necesarios. O para integrar con otros APIs. Nosotros tenemos un partnership con SendGrid, por ejemplo. Puedes enviar emails desde nuestros servidores, puedes enviar text messages usando Twilio. Y también somos partners con Stripe, así que si quieren procesar pagos, pueden usar el módulo de Stripe. Pues no quiero tomar mucho más tiempo, solamente quiero mencionar rápido otro feature que mucha gente usa en los hackathons, y es el push notifications. Me imagino que saben lo que es lo mismo donde te lanzan el teléfono, sale el email o cualquier mensaje que cualquier aplicación quiera enviarles. Pues nosotros probamos este servicio donde puedes enviar push a todas las plataformas que nosotros apoyamos y que apoyan push, que son iPhone, Android y Windows Phone. Básicamente es un solo API. Con un solo API nosotros enviamos el push a la plataforma que el usuario está usando. Así que no tienes que implementar así como funciona Android, así como funciona Apple, así Windows. Solamente nos enviamos sobre el mensaje, nosotros lo enviamos. La forma que está implementado es ese objeto que vimos en la primera pantalla que se graba en la base de datos, se crea uno automáticamente para cada dispositivo. Así que sabemos si es Android, si es Windows, and so on. Y ese objeto se llama installation, porque es una instalación de tu aplicación en el device. Es como una tabla de base de datos, puedes ponerle cualquier parámetro. Puede ser, como en el ejemplo que usé a mí, puedes track el género de la persona, age, and so on. Cosa que cuando quieras enviar un push, haces un query sobre esa tabla. En este caso, pues, el ejemplo que estamos usando es si es empleado de Facebook, true, y eso va a match todas las entradas donde ese boolean sea true. Y simplemente para enviar el mensaje, un string, push, y nosotros lo enviamos. Estos push puede ser un string solamente, puede ser un payload de JSON, como ustedes quieran. Y nada, no quiero poner mucho detalle aquí. Yo voy a estar todo el fin de semana caminando por ahí. Cualquier persona que tenga preguntas sobre cómo usar Parse y cómo hacer la aplicación, me avisan. Yo hago aplicación de iPhone, así que también puedo ayudar con eso. Tengo un poquito de Android también. Pero nada, esta es la forma que se envía push desde la consola, pero se puede por API también. Nada, estoy disponible, Twitter, @HectorRamos. Y para abrir una cuenta con Parse, solamente vayan a parse.com, es gratis. Así que eso es todo.
So switching back to English, we're missing like 3 more API demos, then it's onto the hacking. And now it's turn for Gerard with Etsy. Round of applause, please.
Is this good? Alright, cool. Yeah, sorry I don't speak Spanish. Hey everyone, my name is Gerard. I work at a company called Etsy. If you've never heard of Etsy, it's an online store where people can buy and sell handmade and vintage goods. So you can see like a bunch of stuff on this website that you're never going to see anywhere else really, because real people are making them like in their homes or in their own shops and stuff. And they sell them on this website. And it's really cool. So you can find things like this really nice ring with a World of Warcraft game if you play that game. Yeah. You can buy like this hoodie that looks like a knight's armor or something. Or if you have a turtle that you want to look like a cheeseburger, you can buy something like that. It's really cool. So yeah, we have a bunch of products that you'll never find anywhere else. We have lots of images, they look really nice. People, they take really, really fun images that you can use in your programs. And you can access that all with the API. We've got tons of different APIs. We have lots of resources on it. So if you want to, make something simple just with products, then we have APIs for that. They're completely REST. You don't have to use OAuth or any of that. But if you want to use someone's account, like manage a person's shop or buy things for them, stuff like that, we have an OAuth authentication part of the API that you can use. We have real-time feeds, which I'll show you in a bit, and a bunch of other stuff. We've got code samples on here, pretty much everything you need to get started with the API. So I'm going to show you just 2 really simple things that we've made with the API recently. One of them resolution's really bad, I'm sorry. But it's just a simple program that takes 3, what's that? Oh no, I did. I'll do it more. Alright. So it just takes 3 Etsy products, and it takes the image of one of them and turns it into ASCII art, and you have to try to guess what it is. So that's the product. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but we've got some options down here. Anyone want to take a guess? Give me a number, 1, 2, or 3. 3? Alright. No, it was 1. So, so that's just a very simple thing I made recently. And then my coworker, who's also here, he's sitting over there, he made this really cool thing with our real-time feed that just takes recently updated Etsy products and creates a feed out of it, so it just populates in real time. So the things you're seeing are things that people are updating right now on the website. They're updating descriptions, titles, prices, anything like that. So you have access to this, and we're actually going to have a workshop later on how to use this API. So my name is Gerard. My friend over there, his name is Steve. He doesn't have a Twitter, but I do. So if you need any help, you can tweet me or email one of us. I'm going to be here for pretty much the entire hackathon. I might leave for a tiny bit, I'm not sure yet, but I'll probably be here for as long as you guys are here. And to get to the API documentation, you just go to etsy.com/developers. And also, if you want more examples of things you can make with the API, you can go to etsy.com/apps. And there are tons of things that people have made with the API, like pages and pages. So you can draw inspiration from there, see what other people have built, possibly use them if you want, stuff like that. And last thing, for the best use of our API, we're giving out a prize. I'm thinking gift cards for everyone on the team, $100 you can spend on Etsy. So use the API. Yeah. And we're hiring, so if you want a job, you should totally talk to one of us. And that's about it for me. Thanks.
Up next will be Roberto Rosario with Cryptic.
Parece que soy el único que me está nombrando, así que... Bueno, pues gracias por estar aquí. Para nosotros es un placer hacer este evento. Yo trabajo para la compañía Críptico como consultor y como desarrollador. Críptico es una compañía basada en data. Su producto principal es data, es la transferencia de data. Tenemos dos vertientes principales, data privada y data abierta. Trabajamos mucho con contratistas militares, con gobierno, trabajamos con biotecnología y en esa rama trabajamos creando interfaces criptográficas especializadas para cada uno de los datos. Por ejemplo, en biotecnología trabajamos haciendo interfaces criptográficos para data acquisition. A nivel militar también tenemos contratos. Entonces, en la parte de liberación de data, trabajamos protegiendo data y trabajamos liberando data. En la parte de liberación de data tenemos varios productos. Uno de ellos es intrínseco, que se utiliza en Centro y Sudamérica para liberación de data gubernamental. Nuestro producto es un core, tenemos varios equipos de programadores y hacemos capas de compatibilidad con nuestro producto. Tenemos una capa de compatibilidad con Mongo. Entendemos que muchos de los productos que hay en el mercado se especializan en manejar la data con una interfaz específica. Nuestro producto se especializa en que tiene varias interfaces para entrar la data y tiene varias interfaces para sacar la data. Para la data que pusimos disponible para este evento, pusimos una capa de compatibilidad con Libre, que fue un producto que se hizo por la oficina de CIO para liberación de datos gubernamental, y tenemos varios datos de gobierno. La ventaja que tiene esa interfaz que pusimos para este evento es que ustedes pueden hacerle queries a la data sin tener que usar ningún tipo de programa especializado de cliente. Van a poder hacer el query de data utilizando el URL. El URL es el query language. También logramos también poner mucha data que conseguimos a través de las colaboraciones con agencias de gobierno, que llegan mucha data de agencias de gobierno que van a poder utilizar para el evento. Tienen data geoespacial, tienen también data estadística. Por ejemplo, esto es una capa geoespacial de todas las cárceles de Puerto Rico. Tienen esa data para utilizar. La ventaja de esta interfaz de compatibilidad que utilizamos hoy es que pueden hacerle query a la data con el URL, la pueden sacar como capa geoespacial, pueden hacer un rendering, pueden pasarla en JSON. Si no la quieren en JSON, la pueden pedir en XML. Todo desde el mismo URL convierte y puedes hacer queries desde el mismo URL. Por ejemplo, si yo quiero ver todas las cárceles que solamente están en el área metro, eso es un query pidiéndole en una capa geoespacial en tiempo real, reservando solamente los resultados para un atributo de la data, solamente utilizando el URL. El URL es el query language. O sea que para hacer un query a cualquiera de estas datas, no importa el formato original en que está, lo único que tienes que hacer es un query a esos efectos. O sea que el API client puede ser, si estamos usando Python, podemos usar request, si estamos usando cualquier lenguaje, pueden hacer queries a esta data usando Pro. No tienen siquiera que instalar un cliente especializado. Como estamos apoyando la capa de compatibilidad del gobierno, ellos tienen en la página libre LibreBit 2. Ese es el lenguaje que estamos apoyando por este evento. Apoyamos también Mongo, apoyamos también uno de nosotros customizado, que es un query language en JSON. Para efectos, todo esto que están viendo lo pueden utilizar con cualquiera de las datas que tenemos disponible. La ventaja es que como también el API te hace rendering de la data, puedes capturar los mapas y puedes presentarlos en algún dashboard que vayan a hacer. Por ejemplo, si quieren hacer un dashboard de toda la información de energía eléctrica, pueden extraer los mapas que la misma aplicación genera e integrarlo con un item. La idea es que de data a aplicación haya la menor cantidad de pasos posible, y para cambiar la información que se ve, lo único que tienen que hacer es cambiar el URL. Espero que les sea de uso. No tengo premio, el premio para nosotros fue un internado. Así que vamos a estar pendientes. Muchas gracias.
Yeah, so our final API demo is going to be Mastery by Jamil.
Otra vez. Había organizado para otra compañía más. En este caso, Mastery, esta es una compañía de Intel adquirida recientemente. Mastery tiene el mismo slogan que Apple. There's an app for that, but there's an API for that. So, Mastery te permite, es un portal de un montón de APIs para accesar un montón de datos. Por ejemplo, Rotten Tomatoes para películas, Crunchbase para startups y compañías establecidas ya, ESPN, Best Buy, TomTom. O sea, tienen APIs para absolutamente todo. Y es bien sencillo de usar y tienen un API Explorer que pueden jugar a ver cómo se ve la data y cuáles son los calls. Es bien friendly para get up and running. So, les voy a dar un pequeño demo de cómo funciona el API Explorer. Si van a dev.mastery.com/explorer, pues yo tengo esto aquí y ya tengo mi key de Rotten Tomatoes para ver las películas más cool ahora mismo. So, en el box office, ahora mismo lo más pegado, él hace un request. Aquí está el request que se generó, poniendo mi API key que está aquí arriba de Rotten Tomatoes, y según Rotten Tomatoes, la película Best Movie ahora mismo es Divergent. Yo la recomiendo. Mi novia me obligó a verla. Lo quiero. Etcétera, etcétera. Y hay un montón de endpoints por cada uno de estos APIs. So, yo puedo ir aquí al Navigator y tenemos So, hay APIs para TV, para movie, para weather. Ahora, los que se registren a usar Mastery y nada más que se registren y empiecen a usarlo, pues yo les doy este Velcro patch para, sí, whatever, hanguear con él. Y tenemos el Velcro patch y también tenemos, como el año pasado fueron tan awesome y la gente se volvió loco por ella, pues tenemos otra vez los... Estas son las personas que actually usen Mastery en su hack. Que tengo stickers y eso, tacléenme por ellos porque no me quedan muchos. la mejor aplicación usando Mastery se gana tarjetas de $150 en Amazon. Y yo tengo una toalla en mi bulto que está comprimida en un space bag, pero también se gana una toalla de playa de Mastery. Y... yo no sé lo que es. No tengo el rundown de esto, pero esto es un producto de Intel para competir con Sony, Accelerator, etc. Y pues nuevamente Mastery es un API Hub, tiene sobre 40 APIs, hay de todo, pueden ver Divergent, Rotten Tomatoes. Y eso es todo. Si tienen preguntas me pueden tuitear a mí, pueden tuitear a ese address. Yo soy el contacto directo con ellos ahora mismo, so whatever happens, come to me, I'll help you out. Y creo que eso es todo.
So, ya terminamos con los API demos. Quick notes. El hackathon empieza a las 2 oficialmente. Hay pizza como que en el pasillo. Aquí. Pizza. Pero hay un workshop a las 2:30 en el conference room. Entonces aquí van a ver los jugieros, los van a llevar a los hackers.
Buenas tardes a todos. Los indicadores rápidamente de los hackers.